It's time to introduce you all to one of my favorite practices of writing. I call it contemplative writing. It can also be called mindful writing. This is something that I've been doing a lot of research on recently. In fact, I've written an entire research paper about it that I hope to revise and maybe submit for publication sometime soon. Who knows? But in any case, contemplative writing is something that I believe is very beneficial to all of us as we go through our busy lives and we get into this heavy work that we're going to be doing in our English composition class. So, what is contemplative writing? Contemplative writing consists of writing practices that create the space and silence writers need to allow their minds to open and to cultivate awareness of thought. A lot of times we have so many assignments and responsibilities and activities and things going on that we have to sit down and we have to start writing to fulfill our obligations for our writing class, or to write a paper for a history class or political science or a research project for biology or whatever class we happen to have or activity we have that requires this focused work. And we've got so many things going on that we can't focus the way we should, the way we want to. So one of the things that we can do is adopt some of these writing practices that will help us to create this space and to set up a period of silence. And I'm not talking about absolute silence. You know, you can have ambient noise in the background, or maybe you're just one of those people like I am who literally focuses better when there are other things going on around outside. Like I do a lot of my best writing in coffee shops. Well, I used to back in the days when we could go to coffee shops, or other places where there was just a lot of activity. And that helped me to turn in and to focus in and to be able to open up that space that I needed in my mind, and then to be able to be aware of my thoughts and what thoughts I wanted to work with. So these writing practices are designed to do this. Some practices that are considered contemplative practices include free writing, where you're just writing without rules and without obligation, exploring a certain idea or topic. Journaling, which usually is in response to something you've read, something you've experienced, just your daily activities. Deep listening, which is something that I have asked students to do in the past, but with the limitations that we have on places we can go and spend time right now due to the COVID situation, I'm not going to have you do that in the same way this semester, but we may do some deep listening, and then other mindfulness practices, which you will see one of them that I will have you do coming up. So the purpose of these practices really is to develop and enhance habits of curiosity, openness, creativity, and engagement. These 4 habits are 4 of the 8 habits of mind that have been developed as a framework for post-secondary writing. And these are ones that students tend to, struggle with the most in their freshman composition classes. A lot of students have never really been encouraged to be very curious. A lot of times when we ask too many questions in class, we're told to be quiet. Openness, that's something that we sort of develop a lot of times as we engage more with the world. Creativity is often not valued in the work that we do in school. And then engagement, how many of us really are just trying to get through with a good GPA so we can go on to our desired colleges and careers? Um, but these habits, curiosity, openness, creativity, and engagement, can, once you develop them, can make a huge impact, a big difference in your experiences through not just your English composition classes, but anything you do. If you go into new things with a sense of curiosity, with openness to the possibilities, with creativity, and when you come up against an obstacle or a problem, and with engagement, just being there, being present, being involved, taking ownership of anything, it's going to greatly enhance that experience. So in this class, we can't do all the things, so we'll be doing a few things. We have two kind of strains of contemplative writing that we'll be doing, and they sort of work hand in hand. The first is silent contemplation, and that is something that we do on our own. You'll be asked to do this twice a week, every week. You can do it more than that, and I encourage you to do it more than that, but you'll be required at minimum to do this twice a week. You'll have a brain dump and a sensory inventory. We'll go over what those are in just a moment, but they are things that you will do in your own notebook that you will, that I will see that you have done them, because I'm going to ask you to submit them, but I'm not going to be reading them. I'm just going to look and see, okay, brain dump, sensory inventory, brain dump, sensory inventory. I can see that you've done that, and you'll get credit for that. So that is something that is really for you. The active contemplation part is more collaborative, although what that will look like in an online class is going to be slightly different than what it looks like in an in-person class. But those will be things like prompted journaling exercises where I ask you to examine the quality of light in the room that you're in. Playing with language, where I ask you to do an exercise where you list out 10 concrete nouns and 15 action verbs, and you combine them into 2-word sentences, and you have some interesting ones such as mountains roar. What does that even mean? But that's something that we'll start to play with the language and explore different possibilities for language and thought and idea. Then you'll be asked to do some reading responses that are not comprehension based. I'm not going to ask you who's the main character in this story, what's the thesis of this essay. It's going to be more of an open-ended, what are your thoughts? What are your responses? How do you make connections between this idea and this idea? And where do your own experiences fit in with this? So those are some of the practices that we'll do this semester. And they will all be ones where you'll get credit for doing them, but you won't be graded on them. I'm not going to sit there and say, well, you didn't play with language enough. You didn't really consider the quality of the light. So it's more of, did you try it out? Did you take a chance? Did you try something new? Did you get messy? Right? So to the two that we will be doing twice a week, the first one is the brain dump. The brain dump, I call it that because what I want you to do is just whatever is in your brain, whatever's in your mind that is asking for your attention at that time, you're just going to dump it out on paper. You're just going to take it and let it fly out of your mouth or out of your brain, through your fingers, onto a blank page. So we're going to start off with a 2-minute session. You'll set a timer on your watch, your phone, your computer, the microwave, whatever it is. You're going to set a timer for 2 minutes. And as soon as that timer starts, you're going to put your pen or pencil to the paper and you're going to start writing. You are going to write anything that comes to your mind. If words don't come, just start doodling or writing the alphabet or writing all the words you know in the foreign language you're studying. Just start writing until something comes to mind, and whatever it is, just write it. And keep going until that timer stops. You cannot stop your hand, stop your movement, stop your pencil until the timer stops. The idea here is to clear this clutter from your mind, whatever is there, to clear it out. As an example, a lot of times I will start off with things like, from last semester when I was teaching in person, I would start off with, my stomach just growled. I wish I had remembered to eat my granola bar in the car on the way here, because now I have my mask on and I'm teaching, so I can't eat my granola bar for another hour and a half. I will have to listen to my stomach growl for 90 minutes. And it'll just go from there. And I might be thinking, oh, I have to remember to tell them this, and I'll write it down. Like anything that comes to mind. Remember to schedule an oil change. Like don't forget to email, call this, do this, whatever is in my mind that's competing for attention. I just want to dump it out. And once I have dumped that out of my brain, then I'm ready to be more mindful in filling it back up, to fill that space with something that is useful. So I'm going to start off with this sensory inventory. And I'm going to list 5 things that I see. So I'm just going to look around, and 5 things that I see. I see the car across the street covered in snow because no one's driven it for a few days. I see the notebook on my desk. I see the desk lamp right in front of me. I see the remote control for my big screen next to me, and I see the packet of tissues sitting right next to my computer. Those are 5 things I see. 4 things I feel. Hungry because it's late and I haven't eaten dinner yet. A little bit chilly because the cat came in here and opened the door and all my heat is going out of the room. I feel cozy because I have my slippers and my warm socks on. And I feel tired because I kept having weird dreams last night. So 4 things I feel. Sometimes I say things like, I feel the watch on my wrist, and I feel the shoes on my feet, and I feel the mask around my face, the ear loops, things like that. So they can be like internal feelings like hungry, tired, nervous, or they can be more external things like the things you feel on you, the fabric of your shirt or whatever. 3 things I hear. I hear the flute and the birds in the background music. I hear the hum of my space heater and the floor behind me. And I hear my own voice. 2 things I smell. I don't smell a lot right now because I have a little bit of a nasal cold. But I want to smell some French toast in a little bit because I decided that's what I want for dinner. And I smell my cat. He's not a smelly cat, but he has his own scent. And one thing I taste, well, I'm trying to taste this French toast that I want to be eating in a little while. So I'm anticipating that taste, but I don't really have a taste in my mouth right now. Yeah, weird. So sometimes you just don't have a taste. You don't write it, or you write what you want to be tasting. And then one thing you're grateful for in this moment. Right now, I'm grateful that I can be at home in my warm house. One intention I have for this day, well, this day is actually evening right now when I'm recording this, but one intention I have for tonight is to do my yoga and then do some writing. Those are my things that I want to do. So it's more than one intention, but it's they're both important to me, so I can write them down. So that one is a minimum, write one thing. But if you want to write 10 things you're grateful for, go for it. Intentions, if you have a few intentions that you really want to make for that day, write them down. Right? So again, these are things that your lists can be as short as 5 things I see: book, pen, computer, lamp, remote control, tissues. Or they can be more expressive, like I can see the curling of the paper that my arm has rubbed up against. So you can be more expressive than that. And some days you want to be just like snap, snap, snap through it. And other days you want to take your time because it is contemplative and you want to just be more descriptive and poetic and slow things down. And slowing things down is good. Okay? Right. If you have any questions about contemplative writing, please feel free to reach out at any time so that we can talk about it. I can answer any questions that you have. But otherwise, I hope that you will enjoy this practice and that you will start to see throughout the semester how it has a positive influence and effect on the harder work that we do, the more formal work that we do for the class.